When the internet began, bulletin board services, or BBS, became the first online communities of the so-called information superhighway. Using their phone lines, people logged in from all over America to talk about sports, games, movies, and on one BBS in particular, share their ghost stories. Over time, those communities all went dark, except for one lone server that continues to operate somewhere in an unknown part of Pennsylvania's Rust Belt. A relic of the 1990s, veiled in mystery, it is a digital archive of humanity's strangest encounters with the unknown, as told by the people who experienced them. My name is Brandon Schexnayder, and you are listening to Fear Daily.
Subject: Dinner's ready. User: Sunny1MJP. Posted December 29th, 1998.
Most folks who meet me'd say I'm about the plainest man they ever done run across. I'm middle-aged, soft-spoken, clean enough, but not particular about it. I rent a squat little house at the edge of Carter's Mills, right before the road dead ends into the woods. Had the same place for years now. Peeling blue paint, a leaning mailbox, porch light that only works when it feels like cooperating. Nothing special, nothing worth noticing, and that suits me just fine. Most days, I work over at the Lumber Distribution Center off Route 12. Been there long enough to know every inch of that there warehouse, every forklift scar, every busted pallet, every spot where rain slips through the roof when the storms roll in. The job don't change much. Patch a conveyor belt, swap out a burned motor, mop up oil a driver swears wasn't his fault. Routine work. Work that fills the hours and keeps the old mind quiet. After shift, I always stop at this same grocery store on the way home. Small place, humming fluorescent lights, shelves crammed too tight to really navigate. I grab the same items each time. Canned soup, rice, crackers, protein shakes, and a little broth. The kid at the register barely glances at me anymore, except to ask, "You need a bag?" And I always say, "Sure." Because there's comfort in things staying the same. The deli women sometimes ask how my day was. I tell them I can't complain. When you've lived through enough chaos, a predictable day feels like a kindness you ain't earned. I don't go anywhere after that. No bars for me, no card games, no small town socializing. Nah, I go home. I have someone waiting for me, someone whose needs don't exactly leave room for beer and chatter. I don't mention him to anyone. People like to believe life is simple. Good men do good things. Bad men get punished. Victims get justice. They don't want to know what happens when the man who hurt you faces no consequences. They don't want the discomfort of hearing that the restraining order didn't save you, or that you learned to sleep with shoes on in case you needed to run. They definitely don't want to hear how long it takes to unlearn fear. They'd rather think I'm quiet because I'm shy. And that's fine by me. Let them think whatever makes them comfortable. The house looks ordinary enough. Beige carpet, sagging sofa, coffee table I salvaged from behind the old car wash, but the important part is the basement. That's where he is, where he stays. Before I even step inside, I can usually feel his presence, that subtle tension in the floorboards, like the house is tightening in anticipation. When I set my keys in the bowl by the door, I always call out, "Evening, I'm home." And he never answers outright, but there's usually a shift, soft chain rattle, or the scrape of skin against concrete. It's acknowledgement, it's recognition, and in its own way, it's obedience. A few nights ago, he started scratching again, slow at first, then a bit frantic, restless, anxious. Anyone else might have been bothered by the noise, but I recognized it for what it was: expectation. He's sensitive to routine, and I've been running late that night. I stood outside the basement door and pressed my palm to the wood, feeling the faint vibration of him on the other side. "Easy," I murmured. "I'll be down soon." He stilled almost instantly. Funny how responsive he is now compared to how he used to be. Tonight, an ice storm is coming in, and work let us go early. That suits me. Storms make him uneasy, and more time in the evening means I can take my time with his routine. I shut the kitchen blinds because the headlights from the street used to hit the small basement window at a bad angle, and that sudden brightness made him panic. Animals get startled by abrupt changes. Men do too, especially the ones who used to use fear as a weapon, and now they ain't got anything left except their own panic reflected back at them. I warm the broth on the stove and stir in rice until it thickens. He don't chew no more, and that's fine. There are worse things than living on stew. I taste it, adjust the salt, pour it into a bowl, and wipe the rim clean. Then I gather the usual things: water bottle, clean rag, the ointment for his skin. The pharmacist assumed I needed it for a dog. I let her. People don't look too hard if they think they already understand you. The bowl is warm in my hands as I walk down the hall toward the basement door. The house grows quieter with each and every step, like it knows what's coming. I balance the tray in one hand, turn the knob with the other, and the hinges give a long, aching creak. The sound carries downward, and I hear him shift. The chain scrapes once and stops. The yellow bulb above the stairs flickers when I switch it on. Its glow barely reaches halfway down, leaving the bottom steeped in shadow. As I descend, the air gets warmer, heavier, with the smells of concrete, sweat, and that faint metallic tang that ain't never quite fade no matter how much bleach I use. You learn to accept certain smells, don't you? You learn what becomes normal. By the time I reach the third step from the bottom, I can see him. He's grouched near the center of the room where the chain allows him some movement. Knees drawn tight to his chest, arms wrapped around himself, bare feet flat against the cold concrete, hair long and unwashed, falling in ropes that hide half his face. His beard has grown in unevenly. He looks thinner than he once did, smaller. Men like him always shrink when the world stops bending around him. The cuff around his ankle is tight enough to keep him contained, but loose enough not to cut. He's learned the range of that chain. He don't test it no more. His eyes lift when he senses me watching. The dim light reflects in him, widening them into glossy dark circles. Nothing hard in him now, nothing angry, just good old fear. I step off the last stair and take him in fully. Once, this man here filled entire rooms with his presence. Once, he could make me shrink just by raising his voice. Once, he slammed doors and broke plates and made me apologize for my own bruises. Men like him ain't never imagined they'll be brought low. They think regret is enough. They think saying, "I didn't know my own strength," erases pain. They think people they hurt will always stay small. Well, now he's the one small. I crouch and place the bowl on the concrete within his reach. He flinches at the sound, then tries to suppress the reaction as if that'll make a difference. His breath comes uneven, his hands tremble. "There you go," I say softly, the way you speak to something frightened and dependent. "No reason to back away." He tries to speak, maybe my name, maybe a plea, I don't know, but all that comes out is a strained rasp. I reached out and pushed the tangled hair away from his face so I could see him clearly. His cheeks, they're hollow. His lips, they're cracked. His eyes shine with a mixture of fear and something nearly like recognition. "Look at me," I say quietly. And slowly, he does. For a beat, I see the man he used to be. The anger, the arrogance, the certainty that he was untouchable, but it flickers out awful fast, replaced by something fragile, something breakable, something I broke. "Dinner's ready," I tell him.
Subject, the Bridge Walker. User, JJ99PXNT. Posted, September 14th, 1997.
Folks around here like to talk about the things they've seen on the river after dark. Lights dancing on the water, strange cries from the tree line, the occasional drowned deer drifting past like an omen. But what nobody talks about, not unless they're drunk or dying, is the thing that walks the bridge. I didn't believe it either, not until the night I learned that some things out here move in ways no living thing should. It started when my buddy Clay called me after a shift at the plant, asking if I could give him a ride home. His truck had thrown a rod on the highway, and the tow driver said he couldn't get to it until morning. Clay sounded spooked, which wasn't like him. He was the kind of guy you could take hunting in the dead of winter and it'd barely flinch at the sound of coyotes screaming in the dark. But that night, his voice was tight, like he was holding his breath between sentences. "Can you get here quick?" he asked. "I ain't standing on this bridge longer than I have to." I didn't know what bridge he meant until I got on the road and saw the flashers of his dead truck blinking on the shoulder of the river crossing. The thing stretched long and narrow over the water, a rusted steel affair built back when cars were lighter and nobody worried about safety rails. The fog was running low that night, just thin enough for the moon to skim across the river in broken silver streaks. Clay stood beside his truck with his arms crossed, pacing like he couldn't force himself to stand still. When I pulled up, he yanked the door open and climbed in fast. "Drive," he muttered. I didn't need to be told twice. A man's tone says enough. We made it about 15 yards before he said, "Don't go slow, just drive normal." "What's going on?" I asked. He didn't look at me. "Thought I saw something," he said. "Something walking." "Walking where?" He swallowed. "Under the bridge." I almost laughed, but something about the way he said it made the sound catch in my throat. Clay wasn't a man given to imagination. If he said he saw something, he wasn't guessing. But I didn't see a damn thing. The bridge was just a bridge, the river just a river. Maybe the shadows had messed with him, maybe the fog, maybe exhaustion. I told myself all of that while we drove, and by the time I got him home, I figured the whole thing was over. But 2 nights later, I had to cross the bridge myself. Clay had called in sick, claiming stomach trouble, and I was covering his shift. The fog was thicker this time, rolling like slow smoke over the water. The river was high from a week of rain, bumping into the pilings with a steady slap-slap rhythm. I kept my eyes ahead, hands tight on the wheel. Halfway across, I saw movement beneath me. Not a shape, not a shadow, a stride. Something long and deliberate, walking not on the water, but on the narrow maintenance ledges beneath the bridge deck. A man, I thought at first, just a skinny man, walking where no sane person would walk at this hour. But as I slowed, instinct sharper than thought, I saw how wrong the gate was. It didn't lift its feet so much as slide them forward, long and smooth, too smooth. Its steps didn't match the rhythm of anything living. It didn't duck or weave beneath the steel beams. It passed through them. Not like smoke or shadow, but like it simply ignored the space they took up. A coldness bloomed under my ribs, the kind that makes you grip the steering wheel hard enough to creak the plastic. My headlights glanced off the steel grating, and for a split second I saw its head tilt upward. Not fully, not enough for me to catch its face, just enough to know it knew I was there. I pressed the gas and didn't look again. When I got home, I called Clay. He answered on the second ring. "You saw it," he said, not a question. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. "Don't go back there at night," he added. But life doesn't bend itself around warnings. Not the ones whispered in the dark, not the ones that should have been shouted. 2 days later, the county had us hauling scrap down to the dump on the far side of the river. The bridge was the only way across unless we wanted to add 40 minutes to the trip. Boss didn't care about our superstitions, and neither did the job. "Stay behind me," I told Clay. "If anything happens, don't stop." He nodded, jaw set tight. We hit the bridge at the same time the fog rolled in again. Thicker than before, thick enough that the taillights of Clay's truck blurred red through the mist. The air grew colder, pressing into the cab. The river below made a different kind of sound, less slapping, more like breath. Through the fog, halfway across, I saw something rise near the far piling. Tall, narrow, too tall for any person. It climbed the side of the bridge without using its hands, without bending its legs, just sliding upward like weight meant nothing to it. Clay didn't see it. I knew because he didn't speed up. My heart was pumping so loud I could feel it in my teeth. The thing reached the deck and stood there, exactly where our headlights would hit if we rounded the fogged-out midpoint. I wanted to stop. I wanted to reverse, but the fog swallowed the road behind us, and I could barely see 2 feet ahead. Then Clay's brake lights followed. He'd seen it too. The creature didn't move. It stood at the center of the bridge like it was waiting for us. Its head tilted again, slow, curious, predatory. The fog around it seemed to pulse with each tiny movement, as if the air itself recoiled from it. Clay threw his truck into reverse, tires spinning, engines screaming. I followed before thought could catch up. But the creature didn't chase us. It simply stepped forward. No, glided. And the fog thickened until its shape blurred again into suggestion instead of form. We made it off the bridge alive, and we didn't go back that night. Some folks say the bridge is cursed. Some say a man died building it, crushed under a section of falling steel and never left. Others say the river claims things that wander too close and lets them crawl back out wrong. I don't care which version is true. All I know is that something walks that span after dark. Something that knows when you see it, even when you only catch the slightest motion at the edge of your eye. That was months ago. Since then, I've avoided the river crossing at night, even if it means driving an hour out of my way. Folks laugh when I say I'd rather burn gas than use the shortcut, but they don't know the feeling of being watched by something that doesn't breathe right. Something that can tilt its head without bending its neck. Something that moves like it's made of memory instead of bone.
Fear Daily is an independent podcast hosted by Brandon Schexnayder and written by Brennan Storr, with Joanna Smith serving as the consulting editor, audio production by Rachel Boyd, and sound design by Southern Gothic Media. This podcast is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places, and incidents are either products of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or to real events or locations, is entirely coincidental. Ad-free versions of Fear Daily are available now on your favorite podcast apps. For more information, visit feardaily.com. But move fast, before the server goes offline.